Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. So while people file in, let me go on a rant. So I think you guys know I'm pro Starbucks. Okay, I like Starbucks. I drink a lot of products from there. I eat a lot of I eat a lot of products from there. I like Starbucks. So today I get Starbucks. Well, that's what I do. Now, can you read what this says? It says, Chris, that's me, venti Emperor Clouds latte, Emperor Clouds tea, 2 Splendas, 2% milk. Do you see what this says? English breakfast tea. English breakfast tea. I ordered Emperor Clouds tea. I got English breakfast tea. How hard is it, people? While I'm on the subject of Starbucks, okay, I get this fairly frequently. This is a protein box, okay? It's eggs, apples, grapes, and like a little coffee cake thing. That's probably bad for you. At least half of the grapes in this, inedible. Inedible grapes. I get the wrong tea. Again, it's right there. Chris, Venti Emperor's Cloud. And inedible grapes. Come on, Starbucks. And yes, I know these are first world problems. And yes, I'm sort of kidding. So don't freak out on me. Okay. Welcome. Hi. 18 days until the election. We are getting there. So let's see. There'll be 2 more Fridays before the election. 2 more live streams before the election. The 25th and then early November. Wow. Crazy, right? If you don't know, if you just happened into this room, I am Chris. I write political content on Substack, where you can get my newsletter, chriscillizza.substack.com, or you can watch me here. I make videos 4 days a week on YouTube, and I do this live stream on Fridays. That's what I do. And we're at like 46,000 subscribers now. By the way, I'm drinking this English breakfast tea. It's not like I can't drink English breakfast tea. It's just not what I ordered. Okay, now for this chat, here are the rules. I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can in an hour. I got something at 2, so I got to go at 2. I'm teaching my Georgetown class at 3:45 today. And I got to prep for that too. If you want to donate to me, to this effort, to what you're seeing, do it, please. And as a reward for your donation, I will jump your question up to the top and make sure it gets answered. You don't have to donate. It's appreciated, but not necessary. That's what I always say. Okay. Let's see. Starting from the top. And by the way, send your questions in. I can only go for as long as I have questions. Hey, Chris, what do you think about North Korea sending troops over to Russia to help their efforts in Ukraine? Well, I didn't know about it. North Korea and Russia cooperating is not great. If you mean, what do I think about it in terms of the election? It won't make any difference. People are not focused on foreign policy, certainly not the details of foreign policy. And that's why the most things that happen abroad probably won't affect this election. I know that depresses people, but it's true. The Notorious CRG, thank you so much for the donation. And the Notorious CRG asks, how do you feel about how Brett Baer handled himself? Still fair and balanced. My personal feeling is that he did his best to try to placate Trump. So let me say this. I know Brett a little bit. I actually used to do Fox News way back when. I went on Hannity and Combs when that was a show. This is when I was like 25. So I know Brett a little bit. I've always, and I've done Brett's show before. I've always found Brett to be very fair overall. He is not like the primetime host at that network. He is not like Hannity. He's not like Jesse Waters. He's not like Laura Ingraham. He's not like Maria Bartiromo or Fox and Friends. I think he does his best to be absolutely fair. Now, he is on a conservative network that Republicans mostly watch. So yeah, it's not going to be MSNBC interviewing her. I thought he was fine. I mean, they screwed up the clip thing. They were trying to, I think, get her a little bit, and they screwed up the clip and played one where Trump is basically not acting like he is saying that we need to arrest Democrats with the military when he has in fact said that. So they screwed that up. Overall, I thought he was fine. It's hard to interview presidential candidates. They just talk and talk and talk and talk. Trump does it. You got to interrupt at some level, because if you don't interrupt, they just filibuster and you get one question in the 20 minutes you're allotted. So I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was an A++ performance by Brett, but I didn't think it was an A++ performance by Harris either. I think we're obsessed with saying like this is either the best or the worst. Not everything's an A or an F. Sometimes things are a B or a C+, Okay. John C. If polls are right, I would think Trump has a slight momentum now. Is that real? Could polls have overcorrected from 2016 to 2020? Also, early voting turnout is high. Could election turnout match 2020? I don't think election turnout will match 2020. I mean, it was through the roof in 2020, a lot because they made voting easier, absentee, early vote because of the pandemic. So I don't think it will be higher than 2020, but who the hell knows? You're right. At least in Georgia, early vote is super high. Yeah, I think Trump has a teeny bit of momentum. You saw it first in the upper Midwest, particularly Wisconsin and Michigan, and a little bit in Pennsylvania. You've now seen it nationally too. I was looking at, I think it was Nate Silver's national polling averages. Harris peaked like October 1st or 2nd at like up 3.5 or 4 points average nationally, and she's down to about 2. So yeah, he does have a little bit of momentum. But again, the momentum is that the race is tied, right? Like it's not like he has momentum and he's up 5 points. She was ahead nationally, and I think in enough swing states to win. And I think now she's not. I think it's basically a pure toss-up at this point. Sam. Hi, Chris. Why do you think it took so long for Michelle Obama to hit the campaign trail? The woman who implored us to do something has done nothing. She has not done a lot. I know she's going on the campaign trail next week. It's kind of weird. I mean, I guess the cynical part of me is like, she doesn't really want to hurt her brand. She wants to make money. She's focused on doing other stuff. But yeah, she was at the convention, giving an amazing speech, and then she kind of disappeared and is now just coming in at the end. I don't totally know why that is, other than she's got other things to do. But yeah, she made it sound like this was critical, and then she hasn't been anywhere. Albie PDX. Albie, thank you so much for the donation. Albie asked the question of the moment. If the election was held today, who would win? The short answer is I don't know. Anyone who says X person is going to win doesn't know, really. Because it's too hard to know. It's very, very close. I think I would put a pinky nail on the scale for Trump if it was today. But it's not today. It's in 18 days. I mean, I know there's early vote now, but election day is in 18 days. But a pinky nail, not even my pinky, my nail of my pinky on the scale for Trump. Sherry Zimmerman. Yes, Christopher, with your crystal ball, who is going to win? Be still my 73-year-old heart. Well, keep your heart beating, Sherry. It's not a life or death thing. We'll be fine either way. I really do believe that. But I would say again, if I had to pick someone, I would pick Trump, but I would not feel great about it because I totally could see her winning. Phil Reinhardt, in your Thursday conversation with Taylor Lorenz, she and you somewhat blame the MSM for its own demise. Disagree. What could they have done differently in the 90s, 00s, 2010s? Okay. If you didn't see this was awesome. So on the Substack app, Taylor, who used to work in the New York Times, used to work at the Washington Post, and now is on Substack full time, writes about tech and millennials and Gen Z, and really interesting. We talked about the media, mainstream media 2024. Is this the last campaign of the mainstream media being kind of the prime mover and influencer? So Phil, what could they have done differently? We could have charged for content from the start, as opposed to giving it away for free on the internet, which we did for a very long time, in which everyone has basically retracted and now charges, with very few exceptions, CNN being one, although they're moving to a paywall. We could have embraced the internet and content creator culture better than we did. I think we kept trying to be the gatekeeper and say like, oh, only people with a capital J journalist title can be reporters and can have opinions about things and tell you what matters. I think that was a mistake. Now, tech is being what it is, and the growth of social media and the growth of things like this. I mean, when I started in journalism, we could do a live stream. That wasn't a thing. All of those changes would have, no matter what media did, mainstream media did, complicated things. No question. I'm not saying that if they had done those two little things that I suggested, that suddenly they would be awash in money. but I think that they moved far too slowly to understand the power of the internet, and they protected their own small island for too long. This idea that, like, well, we're the people who know what matters and we're the voice of God and we're going to tell people. I don't, they stayed way too long behind those gates. John Suda. John, thank you for the donation. Is demagogue a label you would use to describe Donald Trump? You know what I'm going to do, because I always, I mean, obviously I have a sense of demagogue, but here's the definition: a political leader who seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. Yes. That said, like, a lot of political leaders appeal to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than rational. Like, I don't think Donald Trump is alone in that space, but yeah, he definitely does that. I think he harvests the anger, the disappointment, the fear that exists among a lot of people because the culture is changing so rapidly. I think he exploits that for sure. So yeah, I guess he would fit that traditional definition. Thanks for the question, and thanks for the donation. And for people who are just arriving, I always say this, please hear me. Donations very much appreciated, very much not necessary. I will jump your question to the top of the line if you do make a donation, but even if you don't, I'll absolutely try to get through it. It's not like I'm not answering questions from people who don't give me money. Let's see what we got. ACAR 1994, good year. It's the year I graduated from high school. Thank you for the donation. Me and my family split ticket voted this year, R for president and D down ballot. Do you think split ticket voting may push Trump to victory in 2 weeks? It could. Like, I will tell you, I have been surprised by how far ahead the Democratic Senate candidates in Nevada and Arizona in particular are, despite the fact that the presidential race in both of those states is very close. Like, Jackie Rosen is ahead by like 8 to 10 or even more points over Sam Brown in Nevada. And in Arizona, Ruben Gallego is ahead of Carrie Lake by, 8-ish. Now, I get the Arizona one a little more because Carrie Lake is such a big figure and I think has alienated a lot of Republicans in that state. So I understand that a little more. But it is odd that, like, Trump, Harris is much closer in those states than the Senate race. Here's a factor that I will tell you, and I've said it many times before, but I'm going to say it again because I think it's so important when we think about down ballot, at least as it relates to the Senate. In 2016 and 2020, there were 69 Senate races on the ballot in those 2 years. 68 of those 69 races were won by the candidate whose party also won the presidential race. So whoever won at the presidential level, that party's candidate also won at the Senate level. The only exception was Susan Collins in Maine. She's a Republican. She won re-election in 2020. Joe Biden won the state. What that means, I think, is that really we're in a parliamentary system. You vote for your team as opposed for the individuals. That's why I think John Tester is going to lose in Montana. It's certainly why West Virginia is going to go to Republicans. It's why I think Sherrod Brown might lose in Ohio. Donald Trump's going to win that state, and it's going to be hard for Sherrod Brown to overperform there. So again, yes, split ticket voting is a thing. But if I'm a down ballot Democrat in a state that Donald Trump won, I'm very, very worried. Let's see. Anubov C. Trump outperforms polls. Have current polls been adjusted accordingly? Okay, so yes, in 2016 and 2020, he did outperform the polling. It was marginal in 2016, at least at the national level. It was like 1.5 points off, which is within the statistical margin of error. In 2020, it was bigger. It was like 4 points off. They said national polling averages said he would win by about Biden would win by about 8.5. He won by 4.5. Yes, pollsters absolutely have made changes to try to reach more of the people who were Trump supporters who were not reached in the past. Will it work? I mean, I don't know. Like, there are smart. Sorry, microphone. There are smart people working on this. That's what I always tell. But it's like the media industry. There's lots and lots of smart people trying to figure out how to make mainstream media be able to grow and make money. They haven't figured it out yet, right? Like, just because there's smart people working on it doesn't mean you solve the problem. And I don't know is the short answer. I know for a fact all major pollsters revisited their methodology, how they reach voters, what they make of a sample after the 2020 election. I don't know if those changes will work or not. The notorious CRG, thank you again for the donation. One could argue that Trump helps nurture and amplify the anger, fear, and angst and then exploits it. Then the irrational takes hold of his voters. Yeah, he absolutely does that. He is absolutely someone who plays on our darker angels who, I mean, I saw him in Wisconsin. He says this at virtually every speech, but he was in Wisconsin and he said, if I lose, this town's going to be overrun by illegal immigrants. I mean, you know what that's about, right? Like that, just the fear of other. I mean, it's not complicated. So yeah, he does do that. Let's see. Human NC. Hi, Chris. Did you see that the leader of Hamas is dead? Do you think this will affect the situation that the next president has to deal with in the region? Yeah, absolutely. Likely, I think, to inflame the already inflamed conflict between Israel and Hamas. Will it impact this presidential race? Probably not. I'm not sure anything would, though I've said this before and I'll say it again. Chaos or the perception of chaos internationally helps Trump. Because Trump's argument is these people, Harris and Biden, they don't know what they're doing. Their world leaders are laughing at us. People are doing things they would never do because they're not afraid of the United States. So if you see chaos or people perceive chaos, that probably helps Trump, but marginally. Let's see. Matthew White. Why do you think Harris skipped the Al Smith dinner? Was it because she didn't want to speak? I mean, I'm Catholic, okay? And the Al Smith dinner is this big annual Catholic event. No one cares about the Al Smith dinner other than the people at the Al Smith dinner and maybe some people who live in New York City. No one cares. It's not going to decide anyone's vote that Kamala Harris was not at the Al Smith dinner. Like, it's such an antiquated thing. It's like a worse White House Correspondents' Dinner. Like, no, regular people don't care. Don't care if she spoke at the Al Smith dinner. No one cares. It will not matter unless you are a member of the Al Smith Society, if that's a thing. Dave Collier. Dave, thank you as always for the donation. Is there anything to be gained by analyzing the early voting numbers now? So I think that people overanalyze them, if I'm being honest, Dave. Like just in Georgia, for example, the early vote numbers, a ton of people are voting. I think people like to draw conclusions about that. This is good for Harris. I don't know if it is, we don't know who they voted for. And Trump's coalition is weird. Like, it's not a typical Republican coalition. So I don't think you can just say like, it's good because white voters were this amount and black voters were this amount. Like, his coalition is weird. He's doing much better among black men, for example, than the typical Republican nominee. So I think we probably overanalyze them. I mean, I think what they are useful for is like, at least in that one state, we can compare it to past elections and say lots more votes have been cast. Maybe this means higher voter turnout, or maybe it means less people will vote on election day. Like, I think we overanalyze it. I think we could do less analysis of it. Clarence Peterson. Chris, Georgia and North Carolina have had strong early voting numbers. Is that good for Trump or Harris? Okay, so along these same lines. It's kind of hard to know, if I'm being totally honest with you. Like, it used to be that if you told me this election there's high turnout, I'd be like, oh, that's good for Democrats. And the reason why is because the Democratic coalition has long been young people, 18 to 29-year-olds, black and brown voters, Hispanic and black voters, and women. And particularly African-American and Hispanic voters and young voters do not vote anywhere near the numbers. Like, the number of people who are registered who can vote in that those communities versus who do vote it's way off, particularly as it compares to whites. So normally I would say, that's good for Harris. But Trump's coalition, as I said, is super weird. I don't mean that pejoratively at all. It's just not your traditional Republican coalition. He's doing better with Hispanic men. He's doing better with black men than the typical Republican. He does better with young men, 18 and 29-year-old men, than the typical Republican. He does worse by a little, but worse with women. So, like, it's just hard to know. Sorry, itchy nose. It's just hard to know. I always worry about people making hard and fast conclusions based off of that. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people do it. I'm not a big fan of it. Sorry. Denver redhead. My wife is a redhead. If Trump croaks before the election, who will Vance pick to be his VP? Dude, I don't know. It's 18 days from now. I don't know. Dan W, give everyone one reason why a second Trump presidency won't be terrible. I think people forget how bad the last few months of his term was. I worry the people that stood up to him are not there now. I mean, you're assuming it's terrible. There are plenty of people who would say it'll be great because we'll deport the people who shouldn't be here. We'll lower taxes. We'll equalize our relationships with allies by making them pay their fair share. Like, you're terrible as someone else is not that terrible. I think what you're suggesting, though, is kind of the democracy question of, is this the end of democracy? No, I do not believe it is the end of democracy. Even if Republicans control the House, Senate, and the presidency, which is a possibility, I think democracy will endure 4 more years of Donald Trump. That does not mean I don't think he has authoritarian or dictatorial impulses. I think he does. I just think the system will hold. And many people have emailed me, texted me, DM'd me, and said I'm an idiot, and we are moving into the American Hitler. And okay, I get it. I don't think that will happen. Anyway, Maxwell Feiner, assuming Colin Allred loses, do you expect him to be a candidate for other offices in the future? Probably. So Colin Allred is the candidate running for Senate against Ted Cruz in Texas. Yeah, probably. So in 2026, I would bet the Texas governor's race will be open. Greg Abbott is not term limited. They don't have term limits in Texas, but I think he'll probably not run again because I think he'll probably start running for president, honestly, around 2026. So I think it'll be an open seat race. And Allred could be the Democratic nominee there. And I actually think he probably has a better chance in a midterm, particularly if Trump is president, a better chance winning as a governor's race in a midterm than he does a Senate race in a presidential year in Texas. So yeah, I could totally see him. He's run a really good campaign. Of course, we all said that Beto O'Rourke was the next big thing in Democratic politics in Texas. And look what that happened. Justin Ziegler. Now that we have seen the leaked internal Republican polling, what should we make of the Texas and Nebraska Senate races? I think that Ted Cruz is going to win by 3 to 5 points, and I think that Deb Fischer is going to win by 5 to 8 points. Both of those are pretty close. If one of them lost, I think Ted Cruz would lose first. I think Deb Fischer is going to be fine. I think Dan Osborne's run a really good campaign, but I just think there are too many Republicans in Nebraska to elect someone who's not a Republican, unless that Republican is hugely scandal-tarred and Deb Fischer isn't. So in the order of Republican Senate incumbents losing, I would say from most likely to least likely, Cruz, Fischer, Scott. That's where I'd go. They call me Blake, and it will mean Ted Cruz will have another chance to fly to Cancun. Yeah, I mean, if he loses, look, the Cancun thing is bad for Ted Cruz. Remember, he went to Cancun in February of 2021, I think, when Texas was hit with that huge ice storm. The electricity went out, and he was caught at the airport going to Cancun. Not great. Not great. I think that's one of the reasons the race is close. Let's see. Svensk Dodd. What happens if Trump actually wins the popular vote, but Harris wins the Electoral College? I think I might giggle a bit. Well, I guarantee if that happens, you will get a lot more Republicans on board with changing the rules and from us electing presidents by Electoral College to electing presidents by popular vote. I don't think that will happen, but yeah, it's at least possible. Let's see. The Night Owl. Thank you for your donation. And not even a question. I'm always happy to field a question. You want to make a donation, ask a question. But if you don't, just make a donation. Double thumbs up. Double thumbs up from this guy. Let's see. Ash Daddy. Woohoo. Another live show. Yeah, every Friday, man. This is what I do. Let's see. Sorry. Here we go. Christopher Swan. Christopher, great name. And thank you for the donation. Are we not factoring in ground game when discussing polls? I've heard Harris has a better GOTV infrastructure compared to Trump in battleground states. Yeah, so when it comes to getting out the voter sort of knowing what your vote is and getting out the vote, Harris has largely kept that in-house in her campaign. Trump has outsourced it to super PACs. I would rather, if I had to choose, I would rather have it stay in-house in your campaign. I just think you can control it and have better oversight over it. That said, Trump's turnout operation was dismal in 2016 and he won, and it was okay in 2020 and he lost. So I don't know. I don't know. Matt Davidson. Thank you, Matt, for the donation. What are your thoughts on Alan Lichtman's prediction, given your issues with him in years past? I mean, I don't really have issues with him. I just think the keys thing is subjective. Like, is a person charismatic? Has there been a foreign policy problem? So much of that's in the eye of the beholder. My issue with Alan is he just presents it as like fact, and I don't think it's fact. Like, it's subjective, just like a lot of other things. So, he got the 2016 race right. Kudos to him. I thought Hillary was going to win. And if Harris wins, he will claim another victory and say he won 11. He's predicted 10 out of the last 11 right. But I just think that there's a lot of people, particularly on the Democratic side, since he picked Harris to win, who view it as conclusive and determinative. Like, it's not about the polling. I get that, but it's still subjective. That's my only thought. Matt, thank you so much for the donation. Let's see. Hold on. I'm scrolling back up to the top. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody who was in early. SD Guy 1234. Great to see your channel doing so well. Much deserved. Thank you. It's been awesome. It's really great. And there's 581 people on this chat on a Friday at least in Eastern time, 1:25. That's pretty great, right? It's pretty awesome. We're getting 50,000 views on a lot of these videos I'm doing. It's awesome. I don't want to ever be satisfied, right? My Substack, which, by the way, if you don't subscribe, just go to chriscillizza.substack.com or type my last name, Cillizza, into the Google machine and put Substack and it'll come up. That's growing too. I always want it to be bigger. I love what I do. I think it's of value. I want to spread it to as many people as possible. And selfishly, I need to make money to keep doing all this different stuff. So but yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty fun and pretty awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. Pocket Watch says suburban life is rough. I know you're talking about, if you missed it, I complained at the top about Starbucks. They gave me the wrong tea. This says Emperor's Cloud. They gave me English breakfast. And half of these grapes are inedible. And yes, I know, first word problems. Sam says, I hope you asked to speak to the manager. I did not. I never do that. Ernest Leto, expensive and overrated. Trying espresso at an Italian cafe or Portuguese cafe, heaven. I mean, I get it, but I had 15 minutes. I had to get back here to do this. I didn't have time to go to an Italian cafe. Rich G says, this is why I make my own coffee and breakfast. I also have no patience for orders being done wrong when it comes to fast food. Totally agree, Rich. Maybe I should get on board with Rich. Send Allen Music. Thank you for the donation. If Trump wins, what will you say the three biggest mistakes Kamala and her campaign made? Interesting. Okay, so mistake one, not break, and most important mistake if she loses, not breaking away from Biden sooner, not making clear that she would not be effectively a second Biden term. Biden is deeply unpopular. Anyone could see that months ago. You cannot link yourself to an unpopular president of the United States when you're the vice president of the United States. So that's the one big one. Two, I don't really know. I don't think she's done a ton wrong, honestly. I know some people will say she should have gone harder after him, but she's now calling him a fascist on the campaign trail. So I don't know you can go harder than a fascist. So I don't see any I think she should have engaged with the media sooner. I'll add that. Engage with the media sooner. Because I think a lot of people don't know who she is. And I think a way to get more known in a positive way is engage with the media. And if she loses, she will have let Trump and his allies define her. And I think she could have done a better job defining herself. But I don't think she's made a ton of errors. I don't think if she loses, I don't think she lost the race. I think he won it. Does that make sense? That's a great question, though. MSU fan, thank you for the donation. I assume that's Michigan State. I like them. Tom Izzo, where should Trump rally? He should do one with Brian Kemp. Will the AB rally help Trump win Pennsylvania? Also, you missed my super chat from earlier. Georgia or Texas on Saturday? Give me Texas on Saturday. Sorry, I missed it. And I don't know that any one rally helps a candidate win a giant state. Those rallies are just aimed at ginning up the base. So who the hell knows what makes up undecided voters' minds at this point? It's crazy. I mean, Andy Parkerson, excuse me. Everybody give this a thumbs up. Yes, we have 592 people on it and only 100 likes. Come on, people, heart it up, thumb it up. Sam says 3:45 p.m. class on a Friday. With all due respect to you, Chris, attendance must be spotty. Yeah, it was not the best. And it's a 2.5 hour class. So yeah, these are hardcore kids. They're into it. Let's see. Bruno the Destroyer. What effect will Elon Musk's rally have on the election? Very little. Very little to none. Let's see. Rich G. So now that you've been doing this for several months, how do you enjoy this when compared to the corporate media structure you were previously in? I think you're great at this. Golly, that's so nice, Rich. Thank you. I mean, I like it because like I don't ever have to worry about saying something that might, I mean, I could still say something that gets me in trouble, but like it would only get me in trouble with me. Not that I always did that, or not even that I always worried about that, but like there is a freedom in it. I can kind of like, if I want to do a live stream, I go and do a live stream. I don't have to run it by anyone. If I want to go give a paid speech, I go give a paid speech. If I want to write something, I write something. Like that part is really, really nice. The part that's harder is I don't have like a set salary. So I got to try to, make money from a bunch of different places, including this. But like, yeah, it's nice. Let's see. Tanner Wilson. Could Colin Allred's strong performance in the Texas Senate debate translate in the polls and his chances of winning? Probably not. I mean, if he wins, but I don't think the debate changes it all that much. It's not like Cruz was horrendously bad. So UAL 320. Dude, Starbucks food has been garbage for years. You were just now realizing it. Sad but true. True fact. Bruno the Destroyer. Does early vote records in North Carolina and Georgia give each side better chance? Not right now. I answered that one. I'm skeptical. Let's see. Doug R. I've noticed in polling there are large differences between the presidential election polling and Senate and gubernatorial in the crosstabs of polls. Does this mean split ticket? Yeah. So I talked about that a little. I think that's totally fascinating. So the ones that always jump out to me are Nevada and Arizona, where the Democratic Senate candidates are running way ahead of the Republican Senate candidates, but the race at the presidential level is tied. I don't know what that means, honestly. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question. Slam piece. My boyfriend loves you. Boom. Christopher Swan, thank you for the donation. Thoughts on nationally elected senators assigned to states, potentially serving different states over time? Understand it's more fantastical than realistic given amendment needed, House still local. That would be fascinating. So like here's another idea that I've had. What if you elected senators by region, like the West? I mean, we could debate the regions forever, but the West, the Plains, the Midwest, the South, the Mid-Atlantic, New England, that would be kind of interesting, right? And they all represented, like you had 6 of them and they represented an area as opposed to one state. I don't know. These are the things I think about. Matt Davidson. Matt, thank you so much. Coming from Red, Missouri, something I'm seeing that the media isn't covering, and that is Hawley is in trouble. Can you go into the reasons why? But I'd like your thoughts on the possible surprise Hawley loss. So I know people do. I'm just looking something up. People do. The guy's name is Lucas Kunce, Kunce. I just don't think. I know people think Hawley is in trouble. Trump's gonna win Missouri by, let's see. Let's look at my handy dandy 2022 Almanac of American Politics. I think he probably won by like 12 or 15 last time. He's gonna win by at least that, I think, in November. All right, hold on. God, it's so close now. I almost said next year. Nope, it's in 18 days. Okay, in 2020, Trump won Missouri 57-41 by 16. I would guess he wins by 16 to 18 again. And you're not electing a Democratic senator in a state where the Republican presidential nominee wins by 16 to 18. I just don't see it. I know the left is interested in him. I think he's been a good candidate. I'm not saying and Hawley, I know the left hates Hawley, but I just don't see it. Sarah H. Hello, Chris. Hello. Clads, what's the single most impactful thing Harris could do before the election? I mean, good question. My view is in a town hall or an interview or a speech, announce that you are going to appoint a Republican as the head of the Department of Homeland Security to oversee the border because you know it's a problem that needs a bipartisan solution, and or talk about some stricter border measures and why your policies on immigration are very different than Joe Biden's. I think that's probably the best thing she could do. Let's see. H, any chance they will ever change election day to a day off and keep early voting? I would love that, but probably not. Zachary Zalis. Hey, Chris, any indications that the low propensity voters that Trump is relying on are turning out an early vote? I mean, again, some of it is like the early vote is through the roof, for example, in Georgia. Is that good for Harris? Is that good for Trump? You know, I don't know. But you're right. A lot of people who are Trump voters, particularly young people, are very infrequent voters. So if they vote, he has a much better chance. Yeah. Joe Jones, what would have to happen in the next 2 weeks for the momentum to shift in either side's favor? Man, it's hard. Something huge, but I can't even imagine what that would be. I think we're talking about incremental movement now. So I think the last 2 weeks have been good for Trump, but he's probably moved a point nationally and in swing states. It's not like he moved 10 points. So it's hard to imagine something like that. Traveler, thank you for the donation. Fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, militarism, suppression of opposition. So Orange Man is a fascist. No. I don't know. I don't know. I struggle with that. Like, I think fascism is so connected to Hitler. I don't like making Hitler comparisons. I just listened to, not just, but a few months ago, I listened to The Rest is History on Hitler, the podcast. I listened to this Noiser 20-part series on Hitler. I don't know. I don't know. I get why people do it. I'm not going to judge calling that, but I'm not there. Esh Daddy, do you think a 50-pound rabbit is a big rabbit just trying to keep it light? But actually, that's a heavy rabbit. Yes, that's a big rabbit. Rampaging Pickle. I wish I had Chris's optimism about Trump's presidency. We'll be okay as far from what I anticipate. Fair. Again, I know people say I'm Pollyannish about this. Paul, what would have to happen for you to consider changing your vote? Would it be a candidate blunder, promises, international affairs, domestic issues? No, not really. I mean, to me, if you're undecided at this point, you're just not following things closely. Like you're choosing not to follow things. So I don't know what changes your vote at that point. Which of the bands going into the Rock and Roll? This is Ankeny Fanatic. Which of the bands going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this weekend do you like the most? I know it's not my pick, the Dave Matthews Band. All right, no, I hate the Dave Matthews Band. They are just terrible. Every song's exactly the same. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. I got to figure out who's being inducted. Okay. 2024 inductees. Mary J. Blige, Cher, Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Ozzy Osbourne, and A Tribe Called Quest. It's obviously A Tribe Called Quest. They're incredible. I mean, A Tribe Called Quest is 100,000 times better than Dave Matthews Band. That's an actual fact. Let's see. Sly Fox, what do you think about money in politics? If you could, what changes would you make? You're never going to get money out of politics. I know people that will dishearten many people. Money will always find politics. My view is make everything immediate and transparent. So whatever donation, we obviously can do this now. If a donation comes in within 24 hours, it has to be posted on either the Federal Election Commission website or a candidate's website or both. That way we can see who's giving what. That's it. Now, that would have a chilling effect on maybe some people who don't want their identities to be known, but that's a good thing. If you can't stand behind a thing you're spending money on, then I'm not a fan of that. Christopher Swan, thank you for the donation. I like your Republican appointee suggestion. I think she can throw out a Liz Cheney as energy secretary. Yeah, I mean, you can totally make a Republican. She has said Harris has said she will appoint a Republican to her cabinet. In my mind, say that you're going to appoint a Republican head of DHS because that's the border, right? Energy is one thing, right? Interior is one thing, but DHS in the middle of the border situation we currently have, or Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, that's a bigger deal. Let's see. Johnny McNabb, do you watch other political YouTube channels such as The Bulwark or Pod Save America? I don't really. I have to do better with that. I don't, but I can check both of them out. I know both people at both of those, Jonathan and Tim and Sarah and those folks at Bulwark. And Dan Pfeiffer and I, fun fact, Dan Pfeiffer and I went to college together. We both went to Georgetown. We were the same year at Georgetown. Tanner Wilson, early 26 World Cup hot take. Love it. This current Japanese team may be the best Asian national team ever, could go on a special run. Bookmarked. Noel G, I have to ask, Popeyes or KFC? Popeyes. Let's see. I'm sorry, MSU fan. I didn't see this. Which states do you think go to Trump? if I had to, the states that I think he's in the best shape in are Arizona and either Georgia or North Carolina. So I don't know, but those are the ones that, like, out of the swing states that if I'm Trump, I feel good about Arizona for sure. At Traversiamo 123, Trump did very well at the Al Smith dinner, though Kamala not coming was a massive mistake and the video was terrible. The video was terrible, but I don't think it was a massive mistake. Are you a hip hop fan and listen to new LL Cool J Eminem single? I have not. I am a hip hop fan. I have not listened to it, but I will. Traveler, thank you for the donation. Chris, we don't have to go all the way to the Nazis to call someone fascist. Mussolini was fascist. Franco was a fascist, but I understand your reluctance. Thank you for understanding. Again, I don't know. I struggle with this stuff, to be totally honest. Visca El Barca. Bob Casey and Tammy Baldwin have ran ads recently showing them voting for some Trump policies. Sherrod Brown and John Tester already ran ads aligning them with Trump. Yeah, because they're running in states that Trump is either going to win or come close to winning. Yeah, that's just political reality. Benegas, I won't donate because it's the first time I'm watching you. That's fine. You don't have to donate. It's all good. Hopefully I convince you to. Let's see. Do reporters look down on online journalists? No, we're all online journalists now. Let's see. Paul, if there is a tie, who do you think would be the VP in the event Republicans hold the most state delegations within the House? Well, remember, the Senate would choose the VP. The House would choose the president. The Senate would choose the VP. And since I think the Senate is going to be majority Republican, I would assume they would choose J.D. Vance. Grug, do you think we're going to continue seeing one-term presidents due to the political climate? We could. We really haven't seen many. I always remind people, George H.W. Bush was the last one before Trump. That was in 92. Usually we've elected presidents for 2 terms, but I do think we're in kind of a unique political moment where people do not like whoever they elect. They immediately don't like that person and they want someone different. So I think we're in kind of a weird moment in that regard. So we could, yeah, I think that's an interesting thought. Let's see. ACAR 1994. Thank you for the donation. October surprise. Joe Biden resigns and makes Kamala president. How do you think this would affect the election? So for people who have been on these chats before, Chuck Todd and I have talked about this and we have totally different views. My view usually has been the best thing Biden could have done is resigned on July 21st and let Harris be president for the last 2.5 months or whatever, 3 months, because one of the hurdles Harris has to get over is we've never had a female president and we've never had a female Black or South Asian president. So maybe people would get kind of used to her. And so it made sense in that way. Chuck's argument is no way, because then she would really have to own the border, the economy, inflation, foreign policy. And why would you do that? So I think I actually think he's right more than I'm right. Sam, thank you for the donation. How many subscribers to Substack, YouTube, or donations would you need to attend a DMB concert? You'd have to sing "I Did It" at the top of your lungs. Not possible. I can't be bought, Sam. The Notorious CRG, $2. That's so nice. Just because I enjoy your work. Thank you. That's very nice. John C. Was Walz the right VP pick? I mean, if she wins, people will say he was. If she loses, people will say he wasn't. I'm not sure it matters. I have said many times I would have picked Josh Shapiro because I think Pennsylvania is the state both Trump and Harris need to win more than any other. And even if Shapiro helps you with 10,000 voters in that state, it's worth it. But it probably doesn't matter that much. Let's see. Billy D and the Hoodoos. It is interesting that these MAGA candidates like Kari Lake in purplish states don't seem to get the same grace and permission structure benefits that the main MAGA dude himself does. True. And I think that's actually a really important point. Like, Trump is he is sui generis. I really believe this. I'm not sure there's another Trump waiting out there. Like, I know everyone's like, who's the next Trump? I don't know that there is a next Trump, if I'm being totally honest. Like, people view him as a celebrity, so they judge him differently than a politician, and very few other people get that. Very other few people are as known in culture as Trump was. So yeah, I wonder about that. And I wonder if Kari Lake not doing as well is a sign that it's kind of, you just can't hand off the Trump coalition, right? It doesn't just do that. You snooze, you news. Yes, no one cares about Al Smith's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Totally 100% agree. Delay, decay, Durbin. What could either candidate do to win that they haven't done already? Look, I think the swing vote that's out there still are Nikki Haley Republicans. So Trump is trying to get to do a rally with Nikki Haley aimed at basically trying to get those people on board. I think Harris goes on Fox News this week because she's trying to convince those people that they should vote for her. So that to me is a group to watch. How are they trying to target those people? So Republican people who are Republicans but have not decided they're for Trump yet because they don't like him personally. They may like his policies, but they can't stand him personally. Where do they vote? Who do they vote for? Max Schumann, any chance Kamala takes Alaska? Nope. Carmelo Jr., lots of women and people of color in those huge lines. For sure, yes. I'm not, but again, be careful of anecdotal evidence when you see people voting. I just, yeah. Barry Riley, I don't understand why people vote early. Something could happen at the last minute and then you can't change your vote. Thoughts? Well, I think for a lot of people, it's like there's no way in hell they're either voting for Donald Trump or voting for Kamala Harris. So that nothing will change their mind. I think if you are the kind of person where your mind might be changed by that, you probably don't vote early and you wait till the last minute. Stephen Williams. Stephen, thank you. Please read Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer. It's 1,200 pages long, but you only need to read up until January 1933. Also, I put the Almanac of American Politics on my Christmas list. Yes, I know I need to read that book as someone who is fascinated with that time period. Almanac of American Politics. I've got a stack of them. They are the best. Trying to go through people who have not asked a question. Thelma Silvestro, what happens to the Republican Party if Trump loses again? Great question. And I don't know the answer to it. I think that he remains the prime mover in the party because he's going to say, if he loses, he's going to say he won, obviously. And there's going to be a lot of people who believe him. And he'll just keep on keeping on, I think. Will there be some element of people who are like, look, we've now lost 2 presidential elections with this guy? Yes. Will there be a major politician to lead that group? I don't know. I really don't. I think that's one of the fascinating storylines to watch if he loses. Is there a fight for the future or not? Like, yeah, no, it just, I don't know. It's a good question. Let's see. Traveler, thank you for the donation. Trump has become a cult leader, not a politician, in my opinion. Once he is defeated, do you think Trump's fever will break and we can go back to the old days? No, I do not think we're going back to the old days. I do not think in 2028, Liz Cheney is going to be the Republican nominee, or Mitt Romney, or Nikki Haley. I guess I could be wrong, but it seems to me like it's Trumpism almost all the way down in the Republican Party at this point. Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Don Jr., Hawley, Cotton, Cruz, Rubio. Yes, if Trump loses and disappears or the base leaves him, could those politicians just switch around? Sure, they could. But man, there's a lot. The party is Trump's party now, win or lose. Extreme Edison, the contrast between good prosecutor Kamala and bad criminal Donald could not be any clearer. Well, I wonder who you're voting for. Raman, do you think the Democrats ranting about the angry black woman trope in any way helps win votes? I find it horribly off-putting, thin-skinned, and defensive. I don't totally know about the angry black woman trope as it relates to this race. Sorry. Ben, the fact that we have to discuss whether democracy will survive is exactly why Trump is a threat to democracy. Luke Boggs, thanks for doing the live stream. What do you think of polls adjusting to match previous election results? I think this is very dumb. I think they're trying to I think pollsters are always trying to figure out what did they do wrong last time and how can they do better. Some of that is looking at what happened when voters actually voted. Again, past results are not always indicative of future performance. They can be, but they aren't always. So I don't know. You got to look at something. You got to look at some data. I don't think you just ignore data, but yeah, I struggle. Jackson Alston, historically, there's always been people in nations who were on the precipice of authoritarianism, but said, nah, everything will be fine. Then authoritarianism came. Fair enough. What Senate race is closer, Montana or Nebraska? Probably Nebraska at this moment, because I think it's probably like a 5 or 6 point race for Deb Fischer leading. And I think Tester is down like 8 to 10. Let's see. People have not asked questions. Sorry, just scrolling. Airplane mode. Do you think Iowa's congressional districts, the 1st and the 3rd, could be up? You mean competitive? Yeah, for sure. I don't think Trump's going to win Iowa by as much as he did in 2020. But I don't know. Like, yeah, I can see those being competitive. Sure. Let's see. Jorg Pronger. I think you're German. Do you think that all swing states are going to the same candidate? Usually they do, but not always. Usually kind of like one candidate wins the majority, 5 of 7, 6 of 7. I don't know. It's so close in all these states. Like the New York Times polling average, I looked earlier this week. The New York Times polling average in 5 of the 7 states, the lead for Trump or Harris is less than 1 point. I mean, that's stunningly close. So I don't know. Sorry, scrolling. Hold on. Oh my gosh, I lost my place. Hold on. Rampaging Pickle notes that Joe Biden is a one-term president. Good point. I always think of them losing, but you're right. He's a one-term president. Billy D and the Hoodoos, how do you really feel about the Dave Matthews Band? Just the worst. Brendan Fleming, thank you for your donation. Always good to hear from you. Thanks for everything, Chris. If Dems are terrified that Trump will win, could this motivate voter turnout and actually have us see a silent Harris vote that didn't show up in the polls? Maybe, but like, I don't, why would it have not shown up in the polls, right? Like, if Democrats were terrified, like, it's not like it's a new feeling. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think probable. I like this one. Ernest Leto just said, Chris is right. Yes, totally true. Totally true. Let's see. Okay, I'm scrolling. Sorry. Kel Clark, if you had to bet your house in the election, who do you think has the edge? I said earlier, Trump by like a scintilla. SD Guy 1234 says, how is Cher not already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She's a legend. I kind of agree. I think she's probably in there as Sonny and Cher, but maybe just not Cher on her own. Chris Vetter, if you don't use marijuana, it is impossible to like the Dave Matthews Band. They are horrible. Amen. And great first name, Chris. She wakes up in the morning. No, thank you. Kevin Campbell, my 2 cents. You're way better on your own, quick, succinct, and clear, not filling time or competing for zingers on a panel. Well done. Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's nice to do this because, like, I can just answer questions as opposed to be like when they go to this guest and this guest and this guest, and then I come back. Yeah, I think this is the future anyway, to be totally honest, not cable news panel shows. Slippin' Jimmy, thank you for the donation. He says, unless pollsters have figured out the Trump undercount, this election is over. Yeah, that's true. If the polling miss is 4 points nationally and in swing states, like it was in 2020, Donald Trump will win. Yeah, that's true. Dave Collier, Chris, you are 100% right about Tribe Called Quest. Of course I am. They're amazing. Low End Theory may be one of the best albums of the last 40 years. Eric near Chicago, given the unlikelihood of Trump relying on establishment reasonable individuals this time around, what names come to mind who would likely be in the Trump cabinet should he win? Michael Flynn, Mike Pompeo again. Who else has been a big surrogate for him? I mean, I would assume the more radical end of his supporters, just generally speaking, because he's not going to put establishment people in those jobs. He's not putting Rex Tillerson in the job. Fora Talasa, just to say thank you. Thank you for the donation. That's incredibly kind and very much appreciated. Thank you. Make sure I'm getting everybody here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Sorry, there's a bunch of questions, which is great. Rosalie Pueblo, my credit card is declining my support for you from Manila, the Philippines. Just wanted to say I love your show. Thank you. That's so kind. I'm sorry. It's declining your credit card, but thank you. Stocky brother, I live in Nevada. I am worried Trump going to win that too. Yeah, Arizona and Nevada, I think are look pretty good for Trump at the moment. Anton Smith, Mets or Dodgers for the World Series? Never the Mets. Dave Collier, thank you for the donation, Dave. What's your Halloween costume plans for this year? Oh, I don't have any yet. If anybody has a good Halloween costume, ideally politically themed, let me know in the comments. John Suda, dating someone by saying you went to college with them is mean. I know. Look, Dan Pfeiffer's 48. I know because I'm 48. Q-Tip produced the new LL Cool J Eminem song. Ooh, love it. That makes me even more likely to donate. Svensdad, if I donate, can I declare it as charity? I don't see why not. Alex Wilcoxon, will Alaska or Minnesota be swing states this year, surprisingly? No, I think both might be closer than we think. Minnesota has been moving a little bit towards Republicans over the last like 3 or 4 presidential election cycles. And Alaska's Alaska. It's hard to say. They're different. It's different up there. So I think it'll be closer, but I think Harris will win Minnesota and Trump will win Alaska. Rada Darua, what do you think we'll do near and after the election if he loses? Do you think he'll try to do something similar to 2020? Yes. The only thing that's different is he's not the president now. Joe Biden will be the president on November 17th and January 5th and January 6th of 2025. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, Trump is not going to say he lost. I mean, yeah. Let's see. Aaron Gins. Hey, Chris, do you think U.S. will demand that Qatar expel Hamas leaders still living there? I do not know. I wish I knew more about foreign policy. I don't want to talk about stuff I don't know about. Extreme Edison. Trump can only serve one term, making a change in 2028 necessary. In theory. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to get people who have not asked questions. Alexander Raimundo official. Maybe Shapiro didn't pass the vetting process. I mean, I guess that's possible. But he's the governor of Pennsylvania and he just got reelected. Like, I assume they vetted him for that too. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. David Hoffman, is Ted Cruz beatable or is this a hopeful mirage Democrats are seeing in Texas? Is your rationalization for Hawley winning same for Texas? Yeah. Basically, the top of the ticket at the Republican level is going to win. Trump's going to win Texas. He's going to win by 5 or 6. I would bet Cruz wins by 2 or 3. Same justification. Yeah. Fahrenheim would also recommend Lingua Terra Imperi by Klemperer. Okay. I'll check it out. Terci Imperi, corrected. Am I keeping a live stream on Fridays? I think I should. People seem to like it. I mean, if you guys think I should, then I will. Like, it's a good time for me to do it. I don't know if it's a good time for everybody else, but like, I enjoy doing it. So yeah, I'm planning to keep doing it post-election because I think there's going to be a lot. I mean, here's what I'll say. I'm not going to stop making videos or doing live streams after the election because all of this stuff is not going away. I mean, all of these issues are going to stay no matter who wins. Alan Kress, who else misses Cillizza calling into Cuomo's SiriusXM show and discussing calf size? That was amazing. I missed that. Let's see. Shane Barry, you speak like you have never left the city. Just saying, I grew up in rural Connecticut. I grew up not in the city. Let's see. Elaine H says, yes, keep it going. Ike Zwiesler says, keep it on Fridays. Okay. Okay. Well, oh gosh, I have something at 2. I better go. Okay. As always, if you join me, thank you. If you join me live, thank you. Awesome. Love the questions. Thank you for the donations to people who did donate. It always means a lot that you're willing to dip into your own pocket and support me. So thank you on a very serious note. We're 18 days away. We are 2 live streams away. I'm going to continue this post-election, obviously. I'm going to continue making videos, continue talking to you all, continue trying to answer your questions, taking your feedback in. If you can do a couple things for me, I'd very much appreciate it. The YouTube algorithm works based on subscribers and views. It's not complicated. So if you can subscribe to YouTube, just hit subscribe. Please do. It really helps. If you can like this video and the other videos I do, please do. If you can comment on this video and the other videos I do, please do. It all goes into the algorithm. YouTube recommends it more. I get more subscribers. I can do more of this kind of stuff. It's hopefully a virtuous circle. If you want more of this, and you've already subscribed to this channel, head over to my Substack newsletter. It's daily. 80% of it's free. If you want to support me financially, you can. $6 a month, $60 a year. chriscillizza.substack.com. I would absolutely love to have you over there. I think you'd enjoy it. I write a ton of content. So I think it would be very much worth your while. So thank you all, as always, for your support. Your thoughts, your kindness, your good words. It all means a ton. So let's keep this going. All right. Okay. Everybody take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful and safe weekend.